Lunchtime, Triathlon Mockery lunchtime. We don't often record a podcast during lunch, Joe, but good to see you're back. Fucking hell, you're shining. You've look about like you've been on a holiday, mate.
Yeah, mate, I have been chilling out and I live in the high life. Had to ask the coach for his permission though to go, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, but I said it's all right, mate. You can go.
You said enjoy yourself. Don't swim too much.
Yeah. So whereabouts did you go then to honeymoon?
It was an island just off Sicily. It was called it was one of the Aeolian Islands and it was called Volcano. So it was like really small. It was like only about 6 or 7 kilometers from one side to the other. But it was just relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
We were only there for like 3 nights. So it was just a short break, really. But it was absolutely boiling, mate. It was a heat wave and it felt hotter than Kona.
Fucking hell, that's shite.
I was dying, mate. I
But
was
oh
dying.
well. On the other hand, you did a little bit in your easy week, like some heat adaptations for Kona, and maybe the training camp in Font Remo or something like that.
Yeah, mate. Starting early, aren't I? Getting ahead of the game.
The didn't you say earlier today that the dogs are struggling with the heat? Didn't you take them out to Italy then?
No, the dogs were in Lowestoft, mate. They were staying at my parents on the for a little beach break. But they're dying, mate, today around the house. They're just laying down on like the tiles, trying to keep cool. No energy in them at all.
So what did you do on the honeymoon then? You flew out to Italy, and or is it all private? Is it all private?
But now I can tell you, like we yeah flew out.
I don't want to
Went
hear all the details, mate. Just like
just the basics. But no, I just flew out to like we left on Monday, really early Monday morning, and then flew out to Sicily, and then you had to get like a taxi, 90 miles, so 150 k's, and then you have to get like a ferry, which is like 45 minutes to the island. So it's a bit of a mission to get there. But then where we were was like really nice. It was like there was like a couple of swim pools, sun lounges around there, so it was like chilled out for the first day around the hotel. And oh, I'll tell you what though, you wouldn't believe how expensive it was for a sandwich, mate. There, what do you reckon?
€50. €50.
No, not that bad, but for 30 euros for a sandwich, absolute
Fucking hell, really?
crazy.
Is that
Yeah. So do you know what I did, mate? Oh, instead of getting us two sandwiches, it would have been like 60 euros plus like some drinks and stuff. I'd have bloody spent about 8 euros. So I just put my
what
shoes on
was this like at the resort or was this
at the
in
resort.
general on
Yeah,
the island?
this is at the resort. So I ran down into the village, which was like 2 k's away. I was fucking dying, mate, in the heat. Brought some sandwiches there. Brought like free drinks, uh, like and this like oh, what was it called? Some rice ball thing. I can't remember what it is. Some Italian thing begins with A. Oh, the word's gone now. But anyway, whatever that was, bought that. Cost me like 20 euros, and then just jogged back with it in a bag. Would have cost me about 100 euros for the same stuff at the hotel.
Wow. You said so you did take something from the duchy away then.
Yeah, mate, that was the high of the week. You would have thought that I would have just wasted my money on it, wouldn't you? You would have thought, wouldn't you?
No, it's a bit OTT. It's like Switzerland, man. It still gives me the shivers when I check my accountancy bills from Ironman Switzerland. Like, meine Güte, that is scary, isn't it?
Yeah, went on a boat trip there in the island as well, where this
Wow.
guy takes you around the whole island, around another island in a boat, and you can just stop wherever you want to go swimming.
Is it like a sailboat or like a catamaran or what is it?
It's got a little engine on the back. So it's got like a little motor, and it's just basically you two on it, and then him driving
Oh,
you
so
around. And you
a
just say to him
motorboat.
where you want to stop, and then he'll stop, and you can go and you can see all the fish and stuff underneath.
What kind of fish then?
Oh, like piranhas, stuff like that, crocodiles to make you go faster. I don't.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds good. The
And then it was back, mate, back to reality, back to trying to get fit now.
were you itching to go for a run, swim bike run? I know what you're
I did,
like. You've
mate. I went
already
for a
like,
swim there. I went for a swim there and a run there.
and how did it go?
It was all right. The swim was actually pretty good. The run was like it was really short, but it was like so hot. It was hard, but it wasn't too bad. But then on the boat trip, you're constantly off the boat, swimming and stuff the whole day. So it was all right. I did a
Hmm.
bit, mate. I did a bit. Didn't hadn't bike though. I did my first bike ride about 2 days ago, and that was the first one since Nice.
Was
Um,
that shocking? That one was it? It's always a bit. Well, I wouldn't say shocking, but like your heart rate's way up, and you feel a bit like, whew, I been
No,
off
my
for a
heart rate.
while.
I don't think my heart rate was that high. To be honest, I didn't have a heart rate monitor, and because it was the first ride on the bike, I just brought this. I had to buy a power meter for it because all my bikes are at my mum and dad's. Because like taking them back, didn't he, from Nice and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like when we were there, my dad had the van, so he drove everyone's bikes back, so they were all there. So I had a time trial bike at mine, which I've got to get a front end fitted onto. I didn't have any bloody pedals, so I went to go on this bike. I had this new bike from Argon, the gravel bike that was meant to come before Nice. I had to build it up, went to go on a ride, didn't have any flipping pedals. So I'm like, oh, I need to go for a ride today. So I'm like, all right, I'll go to the Specialized shop. I'll top one of Tom's
Nice
favorites.
one.
Went there, yeah, and you wouldn't believe what they did. So I was like looking in the shop, and I think I confused them because I was talking about like speed play pedals, and they had like different ones, and I was like, how much are these ones? Oh, what ones you got? And I was looking at them, and they had different types. They had 3 different types. Then they had the power ones, and then I was weighing it up, and I was like, do your price match? And they're like, yeah, if it's not reducible, price match. So I was like, all right. So I was looking online when I was standing there because I'm like, I need some pedals. So I'm either going to buy some cheap knockoff ones or I'm going to get the power ones because I wanted a power meter for the gravel bike anyway. So I was like,
Yeah.
what do I get? So in the end, I said I could see the power pedals were for sale for 470 online. They were selling them for 550. I said, what about meeting in the middle? Oh no, they were 460, 465 on that. So I said, what about meeting in the middle? Will you do them for 500 quid? I said, hold on, I'll ring up. So anyway, they rang up, said, yeah, we'll do it for 500 quid. I thought, all right, I'll get them because I was going to be what speed plays are expensive anyway, aren't they? They're like 200 and something for the cheapest, like basically.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll get that. Then I get the power meter, and I can always use them as backup ones if one of my other crank ones goes wrong. So then I went out for a ride with Nathan. I charged it up, the left-sided one, because I just got the cheap ones, or so I thought. Charged it up, went for a ride with him yesterday, and I'm riding up this hill, and I'm thinking the first ride I did was only a short one back, and I didn't have any power. And I'm riding up this one, it says like 120, 130 watts. And I'm like, fuck, this feels harder than 120, 130 watts. It didn't feel too bad, but it felt a lot harder. And I'm thinking, I said, Nathan, what power are you pushing? Because he was on his TT bike with like disc wheel, tri-spoke and everything. And I'm thinking, and he was riding ahead of me. So I'm thinking, God, have I lost that much? Like, am I going out and I'm really struggling, like feeling that I'm putting in some effort, pushing 130 watts. And he goes 200 and something. So I'm like, the power meter's not reading properly. So I've got to calibrate this. So I got off, stopped at the side of the road, messed around with it, tried to calibrate. Anyway, long story short, I end up finding out that the people in that bike shop, instead of giving me the single-sided one, I managed to knock them down on the single-sided one. They gave me the dual-sided one by accident. So I've actually got the left and right-sided power meter.
Wow.
So it was only reading on one side. So I just had to basically go out and double the power, like think to myself, whatever double the power was.
Yeah.
Went out today with it fully charged.
Is that high then? Is that high?
That is a high. Yeah, managed to get myself a dual-sided one for a knockoff single-sided price. So happy days. Chuffed with that.
Well done with scamming the local shop. Well done scamming the local shop, mate.
I didn't even realise, mate. They might have been. Maybe they did it as a present for me coming in there. Like, welcome back to Norwich. Here you go. This one's on us, guy. First time actually. That was my first time in the shop as well.
Bloody hell.
I might go there more often if they're throwing in freebies like that.
We need to. Joe is always a bit chaotic. He forgot his laptop and mic in front row, so he's right now recording with an iPad and not a mic. So we need to pray to dear God that the audio quality is going to be all right. And also, the last 2 weeks something went wrong with the video. So last week it was absolute terrible internet connection from wherever the hell Eric Clow was, because it didn't manage to buffer.
Was he in France?
Well, it could have been France, mate. It could have been France, but it only buffered half of the video and the rest is gone. So we couldn't put it on YouTube, sadly. But the whole episode, if you didn't listen to it, is on all the other apps. Just
so
no
am
video.
I right in thinking Ari Clow is no longer Lionel Sanders as proper whipping boy? He's gone solo. He's like flown the nest.
Well, might just be for if he feels great again, he might travel down again to try and train with Lionel. But yeah, that is true.
Maybe if Ari's sends an invitation, if he sends a letter to us asking how much he wants to train with us, maybe we'll accept him to come into our group. Ari, it could be an opportunity for you. You'll have to impress us with your open letter, and we want a good reference from Lionel Sanders. But if he gives you the all clear, then you might be welcome to join us for our training group.
What about? He did the battle of the influencers yesterday. He
Oh,
faced
I
the
know, I
big
saw it.
Mets.
Bloody Mets beat him though, didn't he? I mean, Mets, like, can't
Big
believe it.
Mets had a big day. Fucking hell, he almost ran a 1:11. Big Mets as well. It's pretty impressive.
He's got big leg stride though, isn't he? So he doesn't have to take as many steps
Yeah,
as Harry. So he's
yeah,
got an
he does.
advantage.
Yeah, true. But anyway, have you got any highs and lows then? I want to hear
I'll
some
tell you
lows,
what,
mate. I want to
Tom,
hear some lows.
going back on that race, me and you for a 70.3 next year, downstream swim. Did you see the size of that front pack? That's a race for us, mate, that is.
But what about the bike course then?
I don't know, but who cares if we're in the mix at the end of the swim? like, we can't get a better start to the race than that, can we? I was looking at that race thinking, fuck, man, that's one for me. I'm putting that on my box next year. 70.3 Oregon, downstream swim. You don't even need to put an arm stroke in.
I know, it's crazy. But I was thinking, so there's either two ways. I'm always looking for races where there's like a big chance of the swim getting cancelled, because that'd be like even better. But downstream swim might even be then the second thing I might look at.
Put Chattanooga, mate, on your list then. I'm on Chattanooga.
Do you know, I need to weigh up downstream swim versus absolutely boiling hot conditions.
Yeah, but it's not completely boiling hot, and it is a longer bike than normal to make up for the downstream swim.
What do you think if you compare Chattanooga with Ironman Nice then on that climb?
Oh, way cooler. Completely way cooler. Like miles different.
But come on, give me some lows, mate. Give me some lows. We want to feed off the lows.
There was a leak when I was away in the honeymoon, and it woke me up at like 6 o'clock. Honestly, it sounded like someone was having a shower. There was a leak outside the room, like absolutely piling out. Like Laura got a video of it. Like it was literally like water up to like her ankles and stuff. I thought she was having a shower, and I felt absolutely.
What, in your room?
Yeah. No, it was just outside the room. Like it was in the hallway. Honestly, mate, it was pouring out. It sounded like someone was having a shower, like in the room. It sounded like they were in the room having a shower. The water was absolutely caning it. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning, and then she had to ring the people up. They came and sorted the leak out, and then they ended up trying to like sort out the fixing it and stuff, like from 6:30 in the morning, so you could hear all the noise and stuff. So I went on the boat trip. I felt absolutely shattered.
Wow. So you wrote a little complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only low. That was the only low. I haven't really got any other lows, to be honest. Like apart from
what about
lack of fitness.
I saw you posting up this Facebook thing. Any bike mechanics around Norwich? That sounds like a little low.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort this like headset, getting this that monobar onto my time trial bike, and it's a right pain in the ass. I just fucking gave up in the end. And my dad's like retiring. He's like protesting coming over. So he's like staying put in lower stuff. They can't get him there. So I'm trying to get a bike mechanic in Norwich, and they're like, impossible. Like they're like, the weight's huge. They're like, yeah, we could fit it in a couple of weeks. I'm thinking, well, a couple of weeks ain't gonna do it. Do you know what I mean? Like I need to get on my TT right now.
Didn't you tell him, don't you know who I am? Don't you know who I am?
Oh no, I didn't
Do you know what you should do, mate? You should just partner up with one of the local bike shops. Just hang around. Do they have like a cafe and all that? Like, for example, a bike part in the Netherlands, a bike part and like a cafe part?
You're joking, aren't you, mate? They don't have that in over here. They got the bike part. They ain't no cafes or anything in there, apart from like an espresso machine or something.
Oh, they've got some really good cafes in the Netherlands and coffees with
in a bike
like
shop.
A bike shop. Yeah. So you'd have a specialized shop with some with a really good cafe up front, and all the cyclists would
specialized shop here doesn't have coffee, but it does give you extras when you buy stuff.
Like extra bills. Oh yeah.
It gives you extra power meters and stuff.
Because then you could partner up with the locals. Sometimes give them a shout out on the gram, and then whenever you need something, you can just literally just bike past, and they'll quickly sort it out.
I think they know how much stuff goes wrong with my bike, so no one wants to partner up with me. They're like, it's more hassle than he's worth.
It's true. I still find it crazy though that you're like, I can't imagine that you're like Max Verstappen of the Formula One, and you don't know how to start your own engines. Like you don't know how to start.
No, it's not, mate. It's like getting Max Verstappen to sort out the suspension and stuff on his car, isn't it? And stuff. You know, starting the engine would be like putting the first pedal stroke down. You're basically asking Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton to tune up their suspension and stuff and change the diff on the car, aren't you? Like, they ain't going to do that, are they? They don't get involved with the computer part of it, do they? And electronics. Get them behind the steering wheel and they're all right. Tuning the car up. You leave it to the engineers, don't you? My engineer's on holiday, though, back in Lowestoft, and he won't come out. He's chilling out.
Your engineer had the wedding, and he's like, I'm going to take a honeymoon as well.
Yeah, he's off.
All right, so that's the highs and lows then. I've got a low, mate.
What's your low? Have you started swimming yet with the kids?
Oh no, I didn't dare yet. I want to start next week. So this week I'm trying to swim like a lot to get the endurance in. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be able to complete the set. Because they're pretty grim. And I must say that my swim has had a hit, mate. Like yesterday I was swimming again, and still my shoulder is not really. I'm not swimming really relaxed, to be honest. But anyway, that's not my low of the week. One low is I've got an engine failure with my car again. So, and do you know how they fucked me over, Joe?
I thought Peugeots were more reliable than that.
Yeah, exactly. I brought the car to the garage a month ago, and basically they said, so I had software problems. If I would do a very long ride and then at the end of the long ride, a bit of a burn up, like what you would do on the bike.
Yeah.
Then it would go into like an engine failure mode, and it would basically cut all the power in the car. You've seen, I've had it in Girona, had to go to the garage there. Had it again at the Deca ring where I took it for a couple of spins. So at sub 7. So I went back. They said in order to fix this, we need to, because it's tuned, we need to remove the tuning and reset the software. I said, all right, if you have to do it, you have to do it, because that was all still under warranty. So they fixed it. And then they said, well, right now, it's got a new engine failure, but you have to, because there was something else, like the gas meter didn't work, but that was all from the beginning.
One failure, go to another. We've completed the other one, but
it's getting worse. It's getting worse. So they changed the exhaust and all that. Then I had to bring it to another garage because they had to put in a whole new dashboard because one of the things wasn't working. It was still all under warranty. And they said they're going to get that other error out as well because it's just a software problem. And then they called me that day. They say, oh, no, it's not a software problem. It's a broken sensor. And that one wasn't connected to your previous exhaust because it was a straight pipe. It's going to cost you $2,500 because it's 2 days after the warranty.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They're trying to screw me right over, mate. Sorry?
But you've already been complaining about it for ages. So they'd have found it out before.
Exactly. Oh, mate, it's like you're bringing your bike into the bike shop and it's all working and good. And they're saying like, well, you've got a really rapid cassette on right now. Let's put a bit of more of an endurance cassette on there. And all of a sudden they're like, oof, your front stem is a bit fucked.
You have to get an e-bike, mate. It'll be cheaper for you commuting round.
Yeah, exactly. And I had another low of the week. So when I got back last week into like the swing of things, and I was going out for a gravel bike ride. And mate, I went out on a ride. That was the first ride since Ironman Nice. And I think I've had the worst bonk in the history of mankind. And I did eat it. I don't even know if it was a bonk or just something else.
Do you know how I think these bonks come on when you're like that? It's because you have all that time off. You're not eating as much as what you normally do. So you haven't got as many carbs. So you go out for a 3-hour ride and you're depleted before you know it. And then you're like, screwed.
Exactly. Because I wanted to go out for 4 or 5 hours for the first ride, but just easy on a gravel bike. And about 2.5 hours in, I was thinking, oh, I could do with a coffee. So I stopped for a coffee. And oh my God, I felt like I had to faint, mate. I took 3 cakes, I had 3 coffees, and then I just took
Did you really
3
have
cakes, mate?
Whoa.
Yeah, but they were really tiny. They were absolutely tiny, mate, literally. And then I took the shortcut home, but yeah, massive bonk.
Do you think
do you think it would have happened if we both had glucose monitors?
Oh, nah, no way. That would have told us that we were low, wouldn't it? You know, you'd know. But do you think runners stop on their long runs for a cafe stop?
Not really. I do think, I also think like a lot of runners, Runners are not really into science or any of that. I think that the most of them just like run a lot, and on the long run as well. They wouldn't drink. Would hardly any of them would take any gels. They don't really do any gels. Never heard of electrolyte tabs. I've never heard a runner telling me something about nutrition. Have you ever heard a runner saying something like that? Oh yeah, on your long run, take 100 grams of carbs and do this and do that. They take 2 gels in a marathon, mate.
So are you saying that runners are either A, they're pretty hardcore, or are they B, a bit stupid?
I would say it's a mixture of both. I would say there's still a lot, especially for the upper age group / below elite level. I think there's still some marginal gains for them up the grabs.
But yeah, they don't like gels, do they?
No.
But
I mean, on a 40-minute easy run, taking a gel, bit OTT. But if you're doing a
you wouldn't
2-hour
take one
run,
on a 40-minute
they would
run.
do like a 2-hour run on a hilly terrain. And so your question is, would they do a cafe stop? Of course not.
But why do you think that is? Is it because they're too serious, or do you think they just don't like cafes? Because I've never seen a runner doing that. But if I was just running, you'd be tempted, wouldn't you? 2.5 hour. If you were doing 2.5 hours, run to a cafe. It'd be hard running back afterwards, though, wouldn't it?
No,
I've
done it. I do it to train my tummy. If I do like a 30K long run, haven't done it in a long while, I would stop after like halfway, down a Coke and a sandwich, and then continue the run, because then you'd have like a full tummy. I never struggle with it. That's why I can down
true, actually.
everything.
I know a guy.
Ironman.
Yeah, I know a guy in Manchester who used to have fish and chips before a track session, because he said if he could run the track session after having fish and chips, he could run after anything in an Ironman, which is probably why
I've posted up about this in the winter when I did it like a couple of times, literally on the story on the gram, like 15K run, boom, sandwich with a meatball and a Coke, down it, another 15K, boom, back home.
So if you're a marathon runner, basically, and you're struggling with tummy problems, what you need to add into your training is a cafe stop halfway through your long run where you smash a cake and a coffee and stuff, and then just try and run after it. And eventually you'll get used to it.
I think runners have more problems with eating disorders than triathletes. Like a lot of runners have eating disorders. So I don't think they're keen halfway coffee stop, a halfway run to stop for a coffee and a cake, let alone 3 cakes.
3 cakes, God, they would be, they'd be skipping teammate after that.
Yeah, I know.
They'd definitely be running the long way home after the cafe after that. They'd be thinking, oh, I was only meant to run 8 miles, but since I've 3 cakes, I better knock it up to 14.
Yeah, exactly. Would you stop during a long run for a cake?
I've never done it. I've never done it, but
I mean, I wouldn't properly sit down. I'd order it, boom, 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 down it. Literally 7 minutes after that, I'm gone again.
It sounds a nice way of breaking up a run, but I've never done it. It's not really a thing so much in running, is it? Cycling, you do it all the time, don't you? I mean, like most long rides, you stop for a calf, wouldn't you?
Yeah. And also, well, maybe you don't want to stop for like a sandwich, but I do think getting some hydration in during long runs, many people don't do it. I sometimes run with these trail bags. I think they're very handy.
That you just like the look, because it looks like you've done like some epic 50K trail run or something, and like people look at you and think, "Fuck, look, that guy's been out all morning. Like it's like 11 o'clock now. You've only probably run half an hour to get to where you're going," and they look at you and think you've been out for 3.5 hours.
I'd run to the cafe, which is about a K from my place, where I could literally do 100 meters and I'm there. I'll sit down with my trail bag. I'll put some sand on my face, like I've been to very dodgy places, and I'll just hang out big stories while I'm smashing 3 cakes.
Well, I've been running on the dunes since 6 a.m. today. The wind this morning was crazy.
I saw some seals. I just came back. Well, I did an easy run today. It was about 65 Ks. Can I have another cake, by the way? Awesome run, and I'll do like an easy one tomorrow this afternoon. That's why I've got my trail bag with me.
By the way, I can't get us into the trail race, the CCC, the part of the UTMB thing.
Yeah,
I've tried, and I can't get us in. If anyone is listening and they can get an entry, let us know. I tried with that CCC. I tried through Hoka. They said next year is something that they could get, like probably get us in and make it happen, but looking like we can't get in this year. Such a shame. I was looking forward to that.
If there is another like pretty crazy challenge or whatever, and you're able to put us into something, just send us a DM and we'll have a little look into it if it's something fun. But we're always up for something intense. Like,
yeah. Something a bit
It's
different.
something a bit different. Yeah. Joe, is July right now? What are the plans going forward?
Basically, just training in Norwich until August. Actually, saying that, I have got a race, mate. PTO race in Edmonton in about, what's the date today? It is the 11th, in like 2 weeks' time. Yesterday, so less than 2 weeks, 13 days. So basically, if anyone's got a fit from a honeymoon to half Ironman training plan in 10 days, send it my way, because I could do with that. Basically, a slightly more
Can it
advanced version of the
can
Couch to
it
5K.
can it involve some kettlebell swings in that
Can
training
involve
plan?
anything. The quick, I need a get fit quick plan that will get me fit in 10 days, and I'm open to offers. Even if
All
kettlebell
right.
swings will do it, then let me know. But yeah, basically I've got that race in like less than 2 weeks, and then come back, and then basically heading to Font probably for altitude training in August, start of August. Are you coming to it? You're oohing and ahhing, aren't you?
Why am I oohing and ahhing?
I don't know. You look like you're contemplating it.
Is the accommodation already sorted or not?
Oh, I've spoke to the guy. I've literally just got to pay it. I've just got to pay the money.
All
Like,
right. Yeah,
same place
we're
I
trying to
stayed last
get
year.
we're trying to get Sam Long over, as Sam Long wants to go in the exact same period on altitude camp to Livigno, whereas there's literally nothing in Livigno. There are good
I think
cafes in Font-Romeu.
there's one nearby in
There's really good
Font-Romeu.
Wi-Fi.
Depends what your standards are like. If you're used to like typical French
Dude,
coffee, it's standard.
He's used to an American gas station coffee stop.
All
Filling
right, yeah.
machine.
There's good cafes then. There's good cafes in Font-Romeu. I think the reason is because he knows he's with his missus, isn't he? And
Yeah.
he knows that you're going, and her eyes aren't painted on, mate. She's only human, and with you there, it's a bit of a pull for her, like she might see the mozzarella and think, like the grass is greener on the other side.
Mate, literally, anyone that would see me swim in a pool would know he wouldn't save me when it comes down to it. So the attention will swirl away. I'm not a lifesaver.
We want to get Sam Long onto it. So give him a bit of pressure,
Sammy,
guys.
Give him a bit of peer pressure. But speaking of pros, Joe, you had a little something like for the future. You wanted to pitch something for the crowd, right?
Yeah, for the crowd. I've got an idea for the podcast going forward, and I want to get a secret pro on, which is called the Secret Pro. And basically, we just talk to them about gossip and stuff, what's going on the show. And they tell us a few of the rumors, what they've heard, stuff they've heard on the grapevine. They could do a little bit of a prediction for a race or something.
Wouldn't the Secret Pro be just like a little audio message with like a gossip, and then we can
or it could be that.
it.
Yeah, or it could be that. It could be an audio message, or they could come on and we could have a bit of a chat with them. As long as it's not like insulting or any of that. Like, we're not like that, Joe. We're not that triathlon podcast, are we? But yeah, we'll just change their voice so people don't know who they are, and their identity will be completely anonymous, and no one other than me and Tom knows who the Secret Pro is. But the small issue is we just need to get a Secret Pro to do it. So if you're interested, send us a message, and we'll get you on the show, because we want the Secret Pro. I think it'd be pretty funny.
We've also got some professional cyclists listening, Joe. I want to get one of them on the show one time, and I think to get some more insights in the pro peloton versus the thoughts about triathletes. I think that'd be pretty handy, wouldn't it?
Who was that? Who listens to
it? Well, we can't see who is constantly, if they're always listening, but a couple of, one of them was in the top 5 of the Tour de France last year.
One thing I'd like to know is, what power do you think Wout van Aert was riding at when he was on that day-long break, with just 2 other people, and then he dropped them?
Must have been at least 270 watts, don't you think?
Oh, that's high. That's high. Surely not that high. You'd need at least 2 gels an hour to sustain that if you were riding at 270 watts.
Yeah.
But he dropped the people. He rode that Quinn Simmons off his wheel, and you think like how much easier it is to sit on someone's wheel. I mean, obviously he was doing turns, but when he dropped him, he literally just rode them off his wheel. So can you imagine? Like, I mean, if we did that to one of us, to each other, we'd have to be riding like pretty flipping hard, wouldn't we, to drop them like that?
Yeah.
So imagine to drop a rider of that caliber. And I saw that when the peloton were chasing him down towards the end, the peloton was splitting and a shitload of them got dropped. And they've been sitting the wheels all day, and he's been holding them at the same speed by himself, solo. I mean, the power must have been absolutely phenomenal. I'd love to know if he shared any data.
That's the stuff that gets you going, isn't it?
That's the stuff that gets you going. That's the stuff that gets you goosebumps. That's what you'd say, isn't it? When you were doing a lap, you'd be doing a lap round Font-Romeu, around the lake. We'd be going for a PB, and we'd say to each other, let's pretend we're riding like Wout van Aert.
Fucking hell, what's going on with the dogs, mate?
They're protecting the castle, mate.
I think you should turn up the heating again so they'll calm down on the floor.
Leave them, put them upstairs in the top room where the heat rises and they're like... I think anyway, we'd say to each other, wouldn't we? Let's pretend we're Wout van Aert, shall we? Ride around there and, go out and give you goosebumps, wouldn't it? Imagine that, having your tunes pumping, me and you, we say to each other, let's do a 2-up, and then at the finish of the 2-up's a 3K climb. You say, race to the top of the climb. That would be a good. That would be a good session, wouldn't it?
First, I need to lose some weight for that.
I've lost 2 kilos, mate. I've lost 2 kilos from my wedding and honeymoon. Yeah, how the hell did that happen?
Wow, should get married more often. More
imagine,
more honeymoons.
I'd be so lean, wouldn't I, for Kona if I got married 3 more times, wouldn't I?
Yeah. Anyway, Joe, what you were just saying fits perfectly into the main subject of the week. Because this week we want to talk a bit about drafting benefits, because we saw an article last week from the Technical University of Eindhoven. What else is the Dutchies, what they can't do? Some proper data, mate. So basically they've put up a statistics about the drafting gain, what you get from drafting in front of a motorbike, when you've got a motorbike behind you, when you've got a couple of cyclists in front of you, when you've got a car in front of you, and when you've got a car behind you. Basically everything what would happen in triathlon. I can see 70.3 Dubai, I could see every Ironman in Spain, I could see the sub 7 event, what they've posted up about. What do you think, Joe? This data, you must love it, don't you?
Yeah, I thought I was the one that sent it to you, weren't I?
Yeah.
But an interesting thing, an interesting one is, so what I think is interesting is, if you look at the motorbike bit where it's actually behind you, and you can see that if it's half a meter behind you, you save 6.5%. And if it's 0.25 of a centimetre, so 25 centimetres behind you, you save 9%. But how often is in a race are the camera bikes like behind you, especially if you're in the front group? They're quite often behind you, aren't they? And quite a lot of the time, that kind of distance. So you think you could be riding at 300 watts, say, and if the camera bike's mixing around between them two, you're probably only putting out 275 watts to 280 watts for the same power. But then if you were to put it, say, in a big surge and you were to up at, say, 370, 380 watts for a period of time, that's the equivalent of someone else who's not got that advantage with the same CDA having to put out 405, 410 watts, something like that. Or, 400, about 400 watts, which is like going to be totally unsustainable for them in a triathlon, especially a long distance one. So the gain's huge. And that's just with a motorbike behind you. I mean, you get a car, if a car goes 2 meters behind you, that's 7%. That's obviously not so often in triathlon that happens. But I mean, an interesting one here is with a motorbike, 40 meters ahead, you save 10%.
And this is what you see in a triathlon, like almost every triathlon. Like literally 10 meters looks like a really massive difference. And in some races, you'd even see a motorbike closer than 10 meters. And now it's when it's increasing like shitloads. If a motorbike is 5 meters in front of you, it's almost 40% what you're saving.
That's basically almost the difference that you'd save in the sub 7 because you can see the data from sitting like ninth person, but that's basically the same as sitting with 2 people right in front of you. So you sitting third person on the wheel is the
Hmm.
same as having a motorbike was at 10 meters in front. No, 5 meters in front. But if you're 10 meters, if you've got a motorbike 10 meters in front of you, it's almost the same as sitting directly behind another cyclist wheel. That is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
But then if you look at 40 meters, which is absolutely huge gap, that's a 10% saving, which is massive. You know, that's like me putting, if I'm,
Yeah. 40 meters is
yeah, and that's the
absolutely
difference between you
crazy.
putting out 270 watts and someone behind you having to do 297 watts for the same speed. You know, and if they're riding at
Yeah.
330
Yeah.
watts because they're starting off, they're putting a bit of a surge in, you
Now,
need to be at 365.
you this um there's two things that would pop up my mind. Two races that we've both done, and we've seen the data. So last week I spoke to Eric Clow about power meters, and I do know that our bikes, we've both got a quark power meter. So your bike and my bike, we've tested it multiple times. Ours read pretty similar. So that's why I think we can say that we can compare our powers a little bit. Going off in a time trial, what we did both in Girona, like an hour time trial, the power we did and the speed what we did both wasn't
No,
very
it's pretty
off, was
similar.
it? Just was pretty similar. So going off, for example, Ironman Switzerland last year, where you were with a big group, you didn't had any motorbike in front, but there were like 6, 7 motorbikes on the side and behind. On the first lap, I could see someone doing 270 watts or 260 watts for the first lap, and we had to do 330, which is basically like 60 watts. I mean, there's nothing you can do as an athlete, but the amount of motorbikes. So this data thing from Technical University Eindhoven, they just go off like one motorbike, but you can see it all adds up if it's like 4, 5, 6 motorbikes, and especially the people in the motorbike don't really have any clue about what's going on, like how massively it could impact the
Well, yeah,
race,
in
don't
some
they?
races, I've had
So,
it. I mean, even in like South Africa, at one point, the motorbikes were to the side, um, and I was like right in the pace line, and I think I was in the pace line for that little bit, 190 watts. You know, that's lower than what I would do on
yeah,
like an easy ride. And I was like, but you're trying to get away and you
it
can't get
just
away because you having to go so hard. And then the motorbikes fill the gap in, just tow everyone back up to you. But like sat in the pace line for a bit, it was like 190 watts, and you were like literally having to brake to make sure that you don't get that close. That's how easy it was.
But of course, complaining is one thing. So in many cases, it could be even be in a race like 40 meters, because lots of organizations trying to do something about it. Tell the motorbikes to go more up front. Well, as you can see, 40 meters is shitloads. It's still 10%. But what would be then a possible solution? Because the paradox in this whole story is we want more broadcast of every race because you want more exposure, don't you? We want to grow the sport. Yet on the other hand, the more interference you get from media vehicles, the more it's going to impact the race, you know? So have you ever thought about a solution in any of these races when you were 10 minutes down and the gap was like getting bigger and bigger and you were frustrated about the motorbikes? Have you ever thought about a
Yeah,
possible
but more of
solution?
what they need to do is stay to the side and in the front. But also another solution would be, but basically video from mainly behind and not in front because it's not as bad. You know, like if you were behind, say 2 meters, you can see
Yeah.
that the benefit is 1.7%. Well, that's okay. If you're giving someone
Yeah.
0.7%, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be a game changing amount, is it? You know, it's a small amount, and like at least then we get the coverage.
10 meters behind is almost 10 meters behind is like 0.1%. That's
Yeah,
hardly
and then you
anything.
can at least show the
But
pace line and stuff, and you can see it. And at least if they're like in the middle and they show some of the people that are sat in the pace line, they can show you behind if they want to. At least they might get a bit more of a gain, but they're still not going any faster than the pace line. If you end up towing the front of that pace line along and everyone else that's with them gets pulled along, you end up just pulling a group of 4 or 5 riders miles off the
mhm.
front. So you need to do that. But then the thing, what you normally see is they film the front of the race, and obviously the chase packs don't get filmed. So the chase pack gets absolutely zero benefit, and then all the benefits at the front, and they get pulled right off the front, and that's kind of where it ruins it, isn't it? A bit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it definitely does. It definitely does. Um, And also, have you watched a little bit of the Tour de
Yeah,
France?
and that makes a huge difference. You can see, can't you, the gaps when they
How
come down when they put a bike in there.
I know, and also hardly they almost always film from the back, don't they? If you've got like a couple of chaser or a couple of like a breakaway, they hardly ever go in front of him.
Yeah, but in the bunch they end up going right in front of the bunch, don't they? A lot because I guess they can't get
I
behind, and
know,
then the
yeah.
gap from the bunch to the break goes down really quick, doesn't it? But when you see them doing
It
the time
does, it
trials, they're
does.
not allowed in front, are they?
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, you can see so many. So whenever you're looking at online coverage, you can see some coverage from like the front and the side. 40 meters, which is a shitloads, is 10%. It's absolutely crazy. So if a top professional rides at like 300 watts, then the chasers have to ride at least like 335
Well,
to catch up
330 just to hold it.
sometimes.
335 is going to be such a small improvement.
Yeah, to hold
You
it.
probably, if it's a couple of minutes, you're probably going to have to ride at 350, which if it's in an Ironman, it's just not going to happen, is it? So
No.
that's which is annoying because then it spoils the outcome of races and affects who should actually be winning and the results. And it's just definitely something the sport needs to address and
Hmm.
sort out.
Definitely, definitely. We'll post this one up, by the way, so people can see the data for themselves. But speaking of, if you're doing Oregon 70.3 next year, mate, you maybe even get a lead motorbike.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
I've never seen one. I've never seen a lead kayak, never seen a motorbike,
Really?
never seen
You've
any
never
of
seen
that
any of it?
shit. I only see the pictures afterwards of like a massive like bike meeting with the front pack. It's like one of these do you know these car meetings but then for
Yeah.
bikes? It's like a Harley Davidson meeting at
So
some
when you see
Ironman
that,
races.
does your heart drop down a bit and you think, oh, for God's sake, it's going to be one of them days?
Well, I knew in Switzerland when I saw you coming onto the second lap, I literally had to look through the motorbikes to see any of the cyclists, and at that point I could only like laugh and thinking like, well, haha, well let's just make it was going to be my own race anyway, but this is not going to make it better. I could only laugh. Like it's just doping, really. I mean, the riders can't really do anything about
It
it,
is
but
probably the same benefit as
yeah, it
actually, it's
messes
probably
up.
actually a bigger benefit than actually doping. Like, it probably is. Like, you would probably
Yeah,
gain
it
more
is.
from having the motorbike.
But I remember because that guy I rode with, that Matteo Fontana, when he saw that happening, he literally just threw the towel in the ring. He was like, I'm not having any of this. I'm quitting. He was so angry. And I was thinking, well, I can be angry, but not going to help. So, but anyway, how can I help then, Joe? How can it help? In training, drafting? You see a lot of cyclists do it, riding behind a motorbike to
I've
get
done
some
it
speed in
before
the
with my
legs.
dad, like, and it was really, really fun because we were flying down the country lanes on a road bike, like 2 hours, and you'd average like 27 and a bit miles an hour, 28, so basically 45 k's an hour, and it was really good fun. And
Yeah.
but in terms of how it can help, what I used to use it for was it would be like training with someone who's always quicker than you. So you can go up the hill and they can like ride like pretty hard and put you in the red, and then straight over the top you back up to like speed. It just basically pushed me on. But other than that, I don't really know the benefits. I think you just get used to turning bigger gears because you're going faster, so you get used to the feeling of
Hmm.
pushing, a race gear.
What What about taking KOMs when
I
you're
did take a
sitting
load of
behind that
KOMs on it
scooter
before, and they
in
all got
training?
flagged. Someone flagged them. But is that
Well,
cheating?
yeah, good
Because
on
like if you're
them.
riding around on a pace line with loads of cyclists at the
Yeah, I
back of a
think,
group, is
mate,
it?
it's
Is
cheating.
it?
It's cheating.
But you're still pedaling.
Yeah, because I could literally sit. Yeah, you're still pedaling, but behind I could literally sit on a horse and take run
Yeah, but
KOMs through
like
the
I was actually
dunes.
still
Like,
pedaling the bike, wasn't I? I was still pedaling. Like, I was sat behind a motorbike, but
yeah, but you could sit on one of them e-bikes, like these massive e-bikes, and take uphill KOMs and say I
yeah,
was
but
still
I'm not.
pedaling.
Yeah,
I'm
but the
still
bike that I was
pedaling.
riding wasn't enforced, was it? Didn't it get any electrical assistance? Did it?
Yeah,
What?
shut up. No, you were getting
But
outside
what about if you're sat on the
assistance.
back of a pace line of 5 or 6
Um,
people?
Yeah, that sub 7 doesn't count, mate. No, I'm kidding. I think it's different if it's like in a pace line, because you'd have a chain gang and everyone is pedaling. So it's just one of your mates pedaling a bit harder than you, and you're just being smarter at the end by overtaking them. I just think when use in that KOM attempt something electrical or engine engineered, then it's messing.
But I thought I was a bit hard done by when I got
it's messing
flagged,
with
sat behind a motorbike.
Yeah, well, that's how you learn lessons in life, mate. Got to take it fair things in life. Anyway, let's go over to bullshit buster, Joe. A bullshit buster. And I don't know how I came up with this one, but I saw something last. Oh yeah, now I remember. When I was an age grouper, I remember a lot of other age groupers saying there should be more drug testing for age groupers. Should be more drug testing for age groupers. So many are drugged up. And I was thinking, that might be a bullshit.
Were you thinking, when you heard all this, were you thinking, really, these age groupers are like taking drugs and stuff? Because you weren't in the sport very long.
Yeah, I was literally thinking, like, why as an amateur, if you're just enjoying the sport, would you do EPO or whatever of that, like blood bags? You would take it a bit too serious, wouldn't you? I think it's unbelievably pathetic to take drugs, but as an amateur, I would think there's literally nothing on the line. I can't even bring it out in words how pathetic that is. But why is it a bullshit buster? Can you imagine? You're Michael. Your name is Michael, and you love triathlon, and you're pretty talented, but you also like your festivals. So you went to a festival, ripped it up in the night. You took some performance-enhancing dancing drugs. Next week you do an Ironman. And I don't think that line of coke or whatever is going to help your performance. I don't even know if that's going to come up on the drug test. But then, boom, you get caught. What do you think? Drug testing for
yeah,
amateurs?
that would be a bit hard done for Michael, wouldn't it? Because he's just living life to the full, isn't he? And he's not even intent.
He doesn't really care. He doesn't want to code a Kona. He just wants to mess around a little bit.
Yeah, that would be, if you were Michael, you'd be a bit like, oh, what the fuck? You know, I was just at a festival last week. Come on, like, I'm only finishing in, like, you know, I'm middle of the pack, you know, person just doing it for a bit of a laugh. Like, give us a break. And his reputation's ruined, isn't it? And if he hadn't have done the triathlon, he'd have just been like pumping it at the festival.
Because the local. All these people that are trying to cancel are getting on them, messaging their sponsors. His 10% discount from the local shop is getting away, saying we don't want to be affiliated with someone that's on drugs. I
didn't even think about it from that point of view, because I just thought about it as from athletes that were like doping to get results and stuff, thinking like, are you really going to be bothered to test them? Because it's not like they're winning money. I mean, obviously they're cheating. That's just really sad. But like, they're not actually competing for any prizes, are they? But I never thought about it from the point of someone who's just there living life to the full, going out, hitting it hard at a party, and then they get pinged for doping, and all of a sudden they can't compete for 2 years, and they're like, oh God, like I wasn't even taking the drugs to improve for the triathlon. I was just doing it for a bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly. I was double K-hauling because I just take life to the edge. But yeah, that is, and also drug testing is really, really expensive. And what do you gain from it?
I would say like maybe not. There's no point really in testing the amateurs regularly. But if you do get word down the grapevine of someone who's like doing drugs and stuff, then there would be no harm in like, you know, potentially testing them, especially if they're like someone who's right at the front. You know what I mean? Like the pointy end, like if there's someone who's down, like not even at the front, but they're just, you heard like they're doing something, but they're just doing it recreational wise, then there's obviously no point, is there? I mean, there's absolutely nothing to gain from busting them.
No. Because I was thinking in the Netherlands, it's quite I know a lot of people that have really good jobs, lawyers, bankers, and all them. They kind of like their weekends
really
spiced up, mate. And if they do an Ironman and get tested, I got tested as an amateur in my first Ironman.
Why did they test you for? Was it because were they testing everyone who was right up there?
Unbelievable, extraordinary appearance.
You were they said not possible. There's no way he's gone that fast. Like he's definitely done something.
That guy did a 1 hour 10 swim. He must be onto something.
There's no way he's gone that fast with that technique.
No, it was also the national championships back then, but there weren't any pros allowed in that race. So There was one pro in it, or it was an age group race only. It was Ironman Maastricht. It was an age group race only. So as a Dutch pro, you could enter the race, but then you would do an Ironman, not for any money, but just for the national championship. So only one pro did it. He's a very old athlete, actually, still professional, but he's still pretty good. He did an Ironman last week in 8:35. He's 52 years old or 51 years old. It's
what was that challenge rough?
No.
Did you see Cam Brown?
Like a local
50 odd years old, did 8:30
one.
something at Challenge Rough.
I know, it's crazy. Like, still fit as a fiddle. But anyway, yeah, I got tested, mate. I got tested, and all clear. I just find it very weird.
They just gave you a slap on the wrist, didn't they? And said, lay off the recreational drugs. Like, next time we're gonna that'll be the last time.
I've never done that. But what I did find it very, like, I didn't come from the sport. I was only in the sport for a year, and all of a sudden did my first Ironman. They said, well, we want to test you for drugs. And I was like, fucking hell, really? All right. But then they literally come in that room with you, watch you pee and all that. I find it pretty, I was like, what the hell's going on? But I got the full experience. Yeah, we should talk about that one time. And maybe... because I do think it's quite a interesting topic.
Footballer Maradona,
drugs. And
he used to have a fake penis, plastic penis that he'd fill up with someone else's wig.
I know. You've got multiple people doing that. But I can ask. So Thomas Dekker, I know he was in the pro peloton back in the years, and he came up with a positive test when back in the days, and he's seen and done it all.
He's too clean.
We can. I want to have a chat.
He wouldn't have any stories to tell.
Yeah, he's got a
lot.
I thought
he was too clean cut.
I'm curious, and also want to know.
I thought he was too clean cut. I didn't think he'd have any stories. I thought he was like the good boy of cycling.
Yeah, he is such a bad boy, mate. Do you know that he went around for a couple of years with the richest women in the world?
The richest woman.
What was her name?
Is that like Oprah Winfrey?
Yeah, he was with her, and no, it's Guess, the woman from Guess. He was with her for a couple of years after he got like caught on. He's got some pretty crazy stories. I can ask him if he's keen for that. As in the sense, I want to talk about.
Have you read Tyler Hamilton's book?
Psychological.
Tyler Hamilton's book. That is absolutely crazy. Some of the stories, what he says. Like, he would the testers would turn up to his house. He'd get a message from his missus while he was out cycling, so he'd end up staying out and booking into a guest house or a hotel and staying the night there instead of coming home. He'd have the key fob for his garage where he'd quickly open it, bike in, and shut the garage thing so the tester couldn't collar him on the way into his house. He was like so paranoid about it. It was unreal. And then in the end, he ended up getting a blood transfusion from his doctor during the Tour de France with someone else's blood, and he was pissing black and stuff. And that he reckons that cost him him winning the Tour de France that year. Nearly died. But
all these stories, they're so like, just in general, doing drugs is so far from stuff I know that I think is quite interesting to talk about. As in, what did it do psychologically with them when they got caught? And also, a lot of people think, for example, that triathletes do drugs. And I want to talk with you about, for example, the policies from WADA or whereabouts. So you always need to fill in where you're at and all that. Yeah, I think it's quite interesting. But anyway, yeah, poor Michael. If he ever gets caught,
he'll have to stick to Glastonbury, won't he? Or park runs, Glastonbury and park runs.
Exactly. Instagram post of the week, Joe. I've got Instagram post of the week. Yesterday, I'm in Switzerland. Tell the dogs to
calm down
for a bit.
Calm down. That's the small one. He's barking, and the other one sat on the sofa with his ears pulled back. Like, is it worthwhile me getting up? Do I need to back her up? Like, I can.
Nah. Instagram post of the week. There was a guy yesterday at Ironman Switzerland that wanted to do the whole Ironman and trying to beat the world record with wearing a backpack filled with 40 pounds, 18 kilos. I've got so many questions, Joe. First of all, did he get inspired by that guy stationary training with all the weights on his back?
Yeah.
Do you think it's correlated? I don't know, but he did pull out halfway through the bike, and I don't have any information. So if someone's got any information why he did pull out, let us know. And also, I'm curious, did he do the swim with the backpack with weights as well? Because I think if you want to get the world record, he
100%.
should.
You've
But
got
I don't
to
know
do
if
the
he
swim
if he
with
did
weights.
it or yeah, I think yeah. And if I look at his swim time, I don't want to make any assumptions because I'm not a quick swimmer as well. But he did something like almost 3
Oh, he's
hours, two and a
definitely
half
done it with
hours.
weights on his
So
back.
I would say, yeah, that's what I think.
But
That's what I
when
think.
you say
So I want to
break the
hear a
world
story,
record
mate.
for it, is there actually a world record for someone doing an Ironman with 40 pounds on the back? I've never even heard of that. Like, who does an Ironman with 40 pounds on their back?
Mate, there's so many crazy world records. Like you can think of it, and there's like a world record of it. So I do think there is someone that said, "I want to do an Ironman with weights on my back." There's someone that did an Ironman with a flipping piece of
What do you
tree,
mean?
didn't he? Like a whole
A
tree
tree log?
log. Someone did an Ironman with a massive tree log.
I don't get why people would do that in an Ironman, because hard enough anyway. Surely you just try and go as fast as you can. Like, doing it with a tree or 20 kilos on your back just seems like it's a bit, for me, a bit of a cop out. It's like, I don't think I'm going to be up there doing it normally. So I'm just going to look for some really obscure challenge or way to do an Ironman where I can be up there.
Well, let's not make any assumptions because maybe he was in the military and just wants to like raise awareness for veterans, and that was why he was wearing like a weighted military backpack. I don't know, but what, like you're saying, there are many crazy challenges where people would just do it for a bit of attention, maybe.
It's a really strange thing to do. And he pulled out halfway through the bike.
Yeah, so something has happened. I don't know what. Something has happened. But I couldn't
Looks
read
like
any
the record's up
information
for the
about it.
taking then
Ironman
next
just
year,
said
Tom,
he
by us.
record is up for the grabs. Let's do the UTMB with a 20 kg backpack, mate.
I'm carrying enough weight as it is.
Anyway, that's the Instagram. You're carrying enough weight already. Whereas after that honeymoon, mate, you've lost. You look a bit ill and skinny. Anyway, I gotta go to the garage. Bring my car in for repair.
Bye.
I'll see you later. See you. Bye.